through this document. Technology has played a big role in increasing the productivity of students. The use of multimedia in education has reduced wastage of time, energy, and money while encouraging and rewarding hard work. During this pandemic period, educators and learners experimented with the online mechanism in a massive way, which will irreversibly continue to become a part of our educational system. Nowadays, technology is playing a major role in assessing the quality of education. Now I will come to my basic duty. We are honored to have the presence of Professor Dr. M.S. Rajasri, the Honorable VC of APJ Abdul Kalam Technological University, to which we are affiliated. Professor M.S. Rajasri has a successful professional career before taking up the charge as the prestigious position as Vice Chancellor of KTU. I take this opportunity to formally welcome Professor Dr. M.S. Rajasri, the Honorable VC of APJ Abdul Kalam Technological University, to inaugurate this function. Welcome, Madam. Our beloved manager, Reverend Dr. Matthew Paikad, is a general educationalist having modern views on education and is guiding our activity. Agreed to preside over this function. I formally welcome Reverend Dr. Manager. I also welcome Reverend Dr. James Elanyipuram, who will introduce our Honorable VC. Dr. Teresa Emina Mahesh is the coordinator for this event and will be briefing us on the objectives of this STTP. I formally welcome Dr. Teresa Emina. Also extend a warm welcome to Professor K.G. Sadish Kumar, the HOD of the host department for this STTP. Learning is enjoyable and disseminating knowledge gives satisfaction. We have a pool of external expert teachers who deliver their knowledge in this special domain on education. On behalf of the organizers and on my behalf, I welcome each and every one of our expert speakers. Participants have joined us with great enthusiasm to learn. On behalf of Amal Jyoti College of Engineering and on my behalf, I welcome each and every one of you and wish you all a good time. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. I invite Dr. Teres Yamuna Mahesh, Associate Professor and Course Coordinator of the STTP, to specify the objective of the training program.
Most honored Chief Guest, Dr. M.S. Rajasri, Vice Chancellor of APJ Abdul Kalam Technological University, respected Manager, Reverend Dr. Matthew Paikad, respected Principal, Dr. S.V. Lakaparambil, Reverend Father James Elanyipuram, Dean Basic Skills and Welfare, Professor Sadish Kumar, HOD ECE, heads of the various departments, and my dearest invitees. After a span of several decades of mark-based education, now we have realized the need that the engineers who graduate from our colleges should be skilled professionals, as the society depends a lot on engineers. With the advent of the new education policy, the concept of creativity seems to become increasingly important. Innovation depends on creative ideas, so the need of innovative solutions in a globalized world puts creativity in focus. Engineers who embody the creative inventors more than any other occupational group carry an important contribution to solving current problems. This is reflected in Program Outcome 6 of NBA, that is Engineer and Society. However, engineering education has not known to be particularly creative. So here comes the need for outcome-based education and a paradigm shift in the assessment techniques. We are thankful to AICTE for sanctioning us the short-term training program in 3 phases. The phase 1 of the STTP was purely for understanding the program outcomes. We had exceptional resource persons from the academia and industry who had proved the outcomes in their career, and almost all of them were above 65 years of age. Phase 2 was on the theme NEP and need for accreditation in engineering colleges. And we found that all the resource persons were in the age group of 40 to 60 years. Phase 3 discusses modern tool usage for education and assessment. And it was interesting to note that most of the speakers are youngsters. This proves that implementation of the theory put forward by the wise in the upper age category will be implemented by the youngsters. One of the attributes to be developed in the graduating engineer is program outcome 5 of NBA, that is the modern tool usage. This is achieved through an initial attempt to understand the usage of the tool, apply it to comprehend concepts in suitable courses, and finally use the tool to apply, formulate, design, implement, and demonstrate a self-defined task. This is the main aim of this phase of the STTP, and we have valuable sessions on virtual reality tools, design thinking tools, Canva app, Lix, and a lot more. It's heartening to see that the assessment tactics are changing and challenging the status quo, and frankly, it can't happen that fast enough. With the growth of technology and it being integrated into the classroom at all levels, there seems to be many shifts happening in the assessment paradigm as teachers and students alike have new tools to utilize and help them teach and learn. It will be interesting to see how it all evolves in the coming years. The lockdown has accelerated adoption of digital technology. This is an ideal time to experiment and deploy new tools to make education delivery meaningful to students who can't go to campuses. It's a chance to be more efficient and productive while developing new and improved professional skills through online learning and assessment. We all know engineering contributes to 60% of exports in India, and the GDP of industry contributes 23%. The contribution from industry is ranked 6th in the world, according to the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation 2018-19. In the AICTE Sustainability Initiatives, AICTE envisions that engineers graduating from the affiliating institutions are made responsible citizens of the world and are responsible towards environmental concerns with the usage of modern tools. Hence, the need for us to be updated with the modern tools is of prime importance. Seeking the blessings of all for the successful conduct of this program and hoping that the discussions in the coming week will be useful for our profession, I conclude. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. We feel honored to have with us Father Dr. Matthew Paikart, Manager, Amal-Jyoti College of Engineering, the man of distinct vision, an idol of knowledge and experience, and inspiration to all of us to preside over the function.
Today's chief guest, Professor Dr. Rajashree MS, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of KTU, who inaugurates this STTP. Dr. Isadvi Lagaparambil, our principal. Reverend Dr. James Elanjipuram, Dean Basic Skills and Welfare, Amal-Jyoti. Professor KG Sadish Kumar, HOD EC Amal-Jyoti. Dr. Therese Yamuna Mahesh, coordinator of this STTP. Eminent speakers and my dear participants. A warm greetings to all. It gives me great pleasure to be a part of this inaugural ceremony of the phase 3 of AICTE sponsored short-term training program on paradigm shift in assessment and evaluation practices of engineering graduates, organized by the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering of our college. We are honored to have with us Dr. Rajashree MS, Vice Chancellor, Abdul Kalam Technological University, Trivandrum, as chief guest for the inaugural session of phase 3. We were blessed to have Dr. Preeti Bajaj, Vice Chancellor, Galgothias University, to inaugurate phase 1 and Dr. Sabu Thomas, Vice Chancellor, Mahatma Gandhi University, for the inauguration of Phase 2 of the STTP. I wish this program would have been an offline one, giving an opportunity for us to host you all in our magnificent campus. 22 resource persons have delivered their sessions in the online mode during the last 2 STTPs, and 12 eminent speakers will be sharing their knowledge in Phase 3 of the STTP. My best wishes to the participants and resource persons. My congratulations to the course coordinator, Dr. Therese Yamuna Mahesh, for bringing the funded STTP to the campus, for designing the STTP contents and inviting the resource persons. My wishes to the program coordinators, Mr. Jason C.S., Ms. Renchida Rajan, Ms. Inthur Reena Varghese, and the Department of ECE headed by Professor K.G. Sadish Kumar for organizing this event. Updating ourselves with the right knowledge and technology is the need of the hour. So once again, I thank Dr. Rajashree MS, our Vice Chancellor, for accepting our invitation to enhance the knowledge of members of faculty who are from all over the country. Asking God's blessings, I remain. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Father. I now welcome Reverend Father James Ilanipuram, Dean, Basic Skills and Welfare, Amal-Jyoti College of Engineering, to introduce the chief guest.
Respected President of the function, Reverend Father Dr. Matthew Paikad, our manager, Chief Guest of the Day, Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. M.S. Rajashree, our Principal Dr. Sedvi Lagaparambil, Professor K.G. Sadish Kumar, HOD ECE, Professor Yamuna Therese, the coordinator of the STTP, distinguished guests and participants. As we stand at the beginning of the third and final phase of the STTP, organized by the Department of ECE, Amal-Jyoti College, it's my pleasure and privilege to introduce the chief guest of the day, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of KTU, Dr. M.S. Rajashree. We are always challenged to invent and augment new methods and paradigms in education, and to look for new normals is the need of the hour, especially so as we live amid the COVID-19 pandemic situation. This STTP is aimed at investigating the paradigm shift in assessment and evaluation in the engineering discipline. Being at the helm of affairs of this technical university, Dr. Rajashree is the apt person to inaugurate this final phase of the STTP. She is a Vice Chancellor of our university and needs no introduction. However, let me take a quick glance at some of the major achievements in her academic career. Dr. Rajashree joined as Vice Chancellor of the APJ Abdul Kalam Technical University in 2019. With a long teaching career of 28 years, she has also served as Principal, Government Engineering College, Barton Hill, and as Director, Indian Institute of Information Technology, Kozhikode. She has also served the academic community in various capacities as teacher, researcher, and has taken up leadership in curriculum design, conduct of examinations, and introducing new PG programs. Her research interests include distributed and object-oriented software engineering, cloud computing, and pattern recognition. She has guided 6 PhD students and has to her credit several research papers, including 17 in international journals and 18 in international conferences. She had her BTech from NIT Calicut and MTech and PhD from IIT Madras. And her area of specialization is computer science and engineering. She has been granted several awards, some of them E-Governance Award for Best E-Learning Solution, instituted by the Institute of Management in Government. And she has won the AICTE scholarship for MTech and PhD programs. And she is the 4th rank holder in the university for the BTech program and has won the Merit Scholarship for pre-degree and BTech. And this morning, she will be talking to us on shaping the culture of engineering, the rise of OBE. Outcome-based education is the current catchword in the educational sector. And we are fortunate to have such an eminent scholar to address the issue. On behalf of the Amal Jyoti family, I now request Dr. Rajashree to take over and inaugurate the 3rd phase of the STTP and deliver the inaugural lecture. Thank you.
Very good morning to one and all. Most respected principal, president of the function and manager, Reverend Father Matthew Paikad, Dean, Reverend Father James, head of the department of ECE, Dr. Satish Kumar, coordinator of this magnificent training program, Dr. Teresa, faculty members, heads of the department, deans, research scholars and students, eminent personalities from other educational and research institutions who is giving sessions in this program, and participants of this workshop. It is very wonderful to see that such a program is being organized by Amal Jyoti College of Engineering. This is something we all talk about now, outcome-based education, paradigm shift in assessment, etc. So from the time has come when we started changing conversation. So we all are aware that no profession unleashes the spirit of engineering, and as it is from research to real life applications, engineers constantly keep on discovering new things which improves the quality of life of people, create solutions, and connect science to life. That is what is more important. And this connection is being established in magnificent ways, very unexpected and very forward-thinking ways. So there are only few professions which turn so many ideas into so many solutions. And only few of them have impact on people's everyday lives. We are counting on engineers and their imaginations to help us meet the challenges of the 21st century. And that is where we embrace outcome-based education as one of the solutions for producing promising engineers who are capable of changing this conversation. Now we see that OBE is the thing, and we design our curriculum based on that, and it is only one aspect of it, and the most important aspects also lie in pedagogy and evaluation method, and that is exactly what the theme of this session is addressing, which is very significant. So when we think of producing engineers, if we consider an engineering graduate as a product, and if we look at, say, manufacturing sector, we look at we define the quality attributes that products should have, and we control our processes to see that the products come out of the manufacturing process are with satisfy all the requirements and are with zero defects. But See, I was just trying to put an analogy with the education, engineering education, where we adopt such a process. We come up with a very well-defined curriculum, which we claim to be outcome-based, and then we define attributes, and we have very beautiful ways of linking attributes, outcomes, attributes and outcomes, and then with the contents, and then curriculum, and we try to map everything and put it across. And then we believe that, see, there's no way to believe that it will be as defined and as clear as a manufacturing process where such things can be defined and the product can be ensured of this quality. So there are differences when we deal with students, and it has to be dealt in a very different way when we think of having mechanisms to see that the outcomes are achieved. And this becomes highly personalized. It's not only with respect to the student, it is also to do with the institutions which deliver the program, several other factors some of which we have control and some of which we do not absolutely have control. So this makes it very complicated. And when we look at assessment or evaluation techniques to measure these outcomes in a clear way, to see that OBE objectives are assigned, it becomes a very hard exercise. And that is exactly what this session is going to address. So it's very, very interesting to see that this is something, this will open up several insights as to how we should be tuning, or how we should be fundamentally changing the evaluation processes. And it is also interesting to note that you are linking the very versatile National Education Policy, NEP 2020, that has just come up, and also the modern tool usage. So this becomes a very apt combination, because we know that NEP puts a lot of emphasis on higher education, which emphasizes to see that the education leads to creative and all-rounded individuals. So each and every word in those descriptions are put very carefully and with very profound meanings. And then there is also a linkage with life, where humanities and social sciences are also given importance in the technical education, higher education and in general, and technical education in particular. So that is when we link to what I told in the beginning, that we are the ones who come up with innovative solutions which touch the life of people, and we come up with solutions which people look at every day. So that is when it becomes significant, and it is a responsibility to see that the graduates are capable of looking at the problem and the solution in a holistic way and come up with solutions for that. So when Dr. Teresa introduced the concept of this webinar as such, she was putting engineer and society. So it is not very easy for us to put engineer and society as some contents in the syllabus and then explain with details how this can happen and all. But it is not that way. It is something which has to come in an experiential way. If we look at a problem in the context of one specific region and solve it there, the engineer, the societal problems that the engineer will have to address will be substantially different from the way it is addressed in a different region, even in the state of Kerala, if we look at it that way. So that is where it becomes so contextual and regionally relevant. What are the kind of problems that the engineer needs to address in, or what are the issues that one needs to address when solving a single problem in two different social scenarios. So these are all very critical, and it is not something which whether those concepts or whether this philosophy has gone into the children. This can be evaluated only through very specific means, which needs to be tailor-made to the context as well. So what I'm trying to bring out is that it is not as simple as we think when we look at assessment and evaluation schemes to suit to outcome-based education and linking it with the basic propositions of the policy, which is supposed to bring out holistic problem solvers for the society to address the problems that the society faces with creative solutions which are integrated with innovative ideas. So a lot of things are coming in, and that is where we need to be very careful when we assess these kind of skills in students. So we all accept that engineering is all about the knowledge plus skills plus the attitude, and all these have to be individually assessed to see that the outcomes are achieved. And then it is fundamentally see some of the things with modern tools and everything, some of the things can be automated and captured. For example, I just try to see that if we are able to look at the Bloom's taxonomy and then classify the questions such that the specific levels of understanding of a particular subjects, if it can be tagged with the question papers, and if an artificial intelligence based solution can come up with the right mix of all these learning levels, we can come up with a question paper to some extent to address that, where the modern tools come in. But when it comes to some execution of a project where we assess some other skills which needs to be assessed, then how exactly that skill is being imparted can be assessed only with a different framework. So this opens up, or this makes the problem little more complex. It's not the conventional examination that matters, or it is not the conventional laboratory exercises also with specific exercises and given resources and say time, if the students are able to do it. That also becomes a kind of deterministic. So it is something very exciting to look at these kind of solutions, and I believe the deliberations that you are going to have in the coming days will take into account all these considerations. For example, if you look at the listed attributes and then look at each one of them and see in a specific context in the sense, if you take a particular subject and then you see how these can be evaluated using that subject. And you also take a group of subjects, and then based on the knowledge components that is extracted from all these subjects, are you able to come up with the project? And is that project capable of assessing some of the attributes? And how much of this assessment will have to be done in a generic way? How much of it becomes dependent on the environment in which the project is executed? So it is if you think of a framework for assessing all these, it becomes very complicated, and I believe that this is going to be a long-term exercise to come up with a single solution for all these. But we can always have some scientific ways by which these assessments can be made, and then derive with tangible means by which this can be assessed. So whenever we talk of assessment from the earlier way in which the knowledge was evaluated and assessed, we are gradually shifting from it, and we always the goal is to have as much as quantitative assessment as possible to make the assessment very objective. So that is where we all end up. And then once we have framework for this sort of assessment, how well we can bring in the quantitative specifications in, and how this can be linked with the framework, and how this quantitative parameters can be connected to the attributes. So this is not a trivial problem. This is something that educators need to work on, and this to a large extent depends on the stream in which we are putting this, the stream of engineering. It will be very different for a mechanical engineering problem. It will be very different for a computing problem. And when it becomes an interdisciplinary kind of problem or a project that is being assessed, this becomes a little more different. So see, these are all some interesting ways in which the paradigm shift can be looked at, and then see what is the most tangible way this can be addressed. That is what one should be looking at, and what is the easiest way in which such an assessment model can be experimented to a collection of subjects. Or see, we always talk about project-based learning, where we apply the knowledge and plus skills to do some projects, and then how far these projects achieve this goal in assessing children, to measure the capabilities that they have, those capabilities that have been built into them. So these are all some open questions I'm throwing open to all the people who are part of this webinar series, this FDP, because there are large number of teachers and research scholars, I believe, who are part of this this exercise, and it will be very good for them to think about this and apply it from in their own context. When I say their own context, there will be teachers who are specialized in specific areas, specific streams, and the way they are solving problems also will be different. Some of them will be mostly depending on experimental work to solve problems or then teach subjects, and some of them may be using simulation techniques to solve problems or teach students for certain subjects. So it is a combination of all that. So all said and done, it is for us to see how well we can have a generic framework for assessment, which takes into consideration all these aspects and which suits best for the evaluation of outcome-based approach. It's very clear that the modes that we follow, that is having an outcome-based curriculum designed and then having a conventional pedagogy and evaluation technique, will not take us anywhere. So the assessment, if we are discussing about the assessment, we need to definitely go back and see what is the how best can this assessment be used in the present pedagogy that is being followed, and what are the essential changes that we need to bring into the pedagogy to make this assessment suitable. So it is again a connected problem, how the subjects are taught and then how you are evaluating that. If it is very theoretical and then you are having this sort of evaluation where you try to assess the skills and their capabilities of solving problems in or doing projects, or look at very open problems, then that doesn't suit. So all these are interconnected, and we have to have integrated framework for putting all these three in perspective: your outcome-based curriculum, then the pedagogical approaches, and the evaluation techniques, and only that will yield us a holistic approach to having the purpose realized. So that is my take on this. And then one thing is very clear, that in order to be creative and in order to be generating real problem solvers who are able to apply the knowledge that have been learned and who have been able to innovate and exercise creativity to look at problems afresh and solve them, so that if we are looking at such a transformation in the education, then definitely all these will have to go in a synergistic way. Only then we can have those attributes assigned, and it requires very fundamental changes in the whole model and very fundamental changes in the capabilities of faculty members. That is also very critical. One who is not very much used to this kind of doing, and then it is only teaching and learning, and if everything stops there, then becomes hard for us to have these sort of approaches. So it demands change in everything, the capabilities that needs to be built into the faculty members, how they can handle the subject in a very different way, and how they can evaluate. And the students also should be should be made clearly aware as to what are the factors, or what are the capabilities that are expected of them at the end of the program to solve this. And all this requires an end-to-end approach, from the design of the curriculum to the evaluation, to see that the goals are achieved. Because we clearly, it's not only that we clearly define the goals and outcomes and then have very haphazard ways of putting it, and then putting it on black and white. It doesn't help us so much. And it should be by truly assessing the individuals who have come through this program and through the novel approaches, and then it is the assessment of those individuals, and then the feedback to the whole process to improve it, to address the gaps, whether it is in the curriculum, or whether it is in the way it is delivered to the students, and then whether it is the difficulties can come everywhere. It can be with the curriculum, it can be with the pedagogy, it can also be with the assessment. So it is I would like to put it as an iterative process, where it has to go through several iterations to refine, to see that the whole components are put in, all the three components are put in place. And I request the experts who are looking at this problem, looking for a philosophical change, as you call it, as a paradigm shift, to see it from its basic way, and having case studies in all branches of engineering, and also in relation to the modern tools and techniques that are existing, to see that we come up with a holistic recommendation for this. I love to see some solid recommendations coming out of this webinar, because it is very intensive, and it is very thoughtful that such a theme is being brought out in these deliberations, which is the key thing for us to believe that we are subscribing to the fundamental philosophy of outcome-based education. And it is also very nice to see that the prescriptions in the policy also resonates the approach that have been followed by us a few years since a few years back itself, in the ABETS model of accreditation, that this scheme is being followed. So everything, see, one is like strengthening the other, and it should evolve that way with the advent of new tools and techniques. It is not from the tools that it should start, but fundamentally we should see how exactly the objectives can be objectives, or the outcomes of the stated objectives can be clearly assessed using techniques proposed, and how it can be supported with adequate tools. So the tool usage can be in the whole process. It can be in the delivery of the curriculum. In some of the cases, the tools will be helpful for students to learn the concepts, and for them to experiment, and for them to practice if they have learned or not. And in some cases, simulations will be useful for them to see that the learning has happened. And so that the tool usage comes everywhere. And also we can think of such tools which is set for the entire framework, which brings such processes of evaluation, mapping, etc. using this. with the advent of new digital technologies like digital technologies and digital solutions powered by artificial intelligence and all, it becomes very easy for coming up with assessment mechanisms to see the learners capabilities, say before the session and after the session. So I am not trying to tell you that the whole thing can be automated, but there are some components which, if carefully drawn, which can be part of the framework, which can be automated, and some of the things are very have to be very subjectively evaluated by knowledgeable teachers, a team of teachers, a team of professionals with interdisciplinary expertise, and see again connecting to the society, how it exactly matches with the needs of the people around, and several other things. So if we take each one of the attributes, there will be several dimensions from which this can be detailed and worked out when it comes to the assessment of each one of this. And it is going to be a very magnificent exercise. As faculty members who have passion in doing this, they can always keep this itself as a research and involve their people, their research scholars in to look at a few problems on this, to see how technical education can be improved with newer and novel strategies for evaluation and assessment techniques. This is something that many institutes are working on now, teachers training institutes, and all over the world this is being deliberated upon, and there will be very interesting assessment mechanisms. So people are even thinking of coming up with competency framework, where the students' competencies are mapped to a certain framework, where the capabilities or the skills that have to be brought in can be classified into several levels, and then it is mapped to each of these, and not merely a resume, but a competency score at the end of the program will becomes a very rich portfolio which can be used to assess the student at the end of the program. There are very interesting developments like this happening across the world, and I call upon all the participants to be open to these and look at all this in a holistic way, thus being able to come up with very good solutions and techniques for assessment and evaluations, which very genuinely or very organically links with the outcome-based education curriculum. I think I haven't. I haven't spoken too many things and confused, but I was trying to tell you some fundamental things. I think it would have gone in the right sense, and it will kindle some thoughts in you to see that we are able to come up with some good things to work on further, and come up with very profound solutions which can become part of the entire teaching learning process in the university as well. So such recommendations are always welcome, and let us see how we can further work on this as a team. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity. I'm very happy to learn that the connected tree themes have been put in the right perspective in this FDP, and a lot of teachers across the country are going to benefit out of the deliberations here. I thank the Amal Jyoti team for this opportunity, the principal, management, and all the senior members of the leadership, and Dr. Teresa in particular for following up with me and making me part of this. Thank you one and all. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Madam. Most cordially, I now invite Professor K.G. Satish Kumar, Head of the Electronics and Communication Engineering Department, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Reverend Dr. Matthew Paikat, President of the function, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. M.S. Rajasri, Dr. Selvi Lagaparambil, Principal of the College, Reverend Dr. James Alinjipuram, Dr. Teresa Yamuna Mahesh, all dear participants, a warm good mornings to one and all. With honor and pride, I stand before you to extend the vote of thanks on the inaugural ceremony of third phase of 6-day AICT-sponsored STTP on paradigm shift in the assessment and evaluation practices of engineering graduates. Even in the busiest schedule, our Honorable Vice Chancellor has accepted our invitation and inaugurated the function with emphasis on outcome-based education. Ma'am has put some questions to us for discussing and implementing it at our different levels. With most respectfully, I extend wholehearted thanks to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. M.S. Rajasri, on the behalf of AJC family and on the behalf of all the participants. Thank you. Please
Thank
kindly
you
accept,
so much.
ma'am.
Thank you.
I extend my sincere thanks to our beloved manager, Reverend Dr. Matthew Paikat, for all the supports and presiding over the functions on behalf of all those who are attending the function. Father, kindly accept it. My sincere thanks to Dr. Sedvil Agaparambil, our principal, for his able guidance and inspiration. I extend sincere thanks on the behalf of the entire participants and on my behalf. My sincere thanks to Reverend Dr. James Elnyipuram, Dean Basic Skills and Welfare Agency, for introducing the chief guest and throwing all the aspects of our training program. Father, kindly accept my sincere thanks. My colleague, Dr. Teresa Yamuna Mahesh, this paradigm shift, the theme was her ideas. She was meticulously planning and implementing these three phases. Dear ma'am, kindly accept my sincere thanks. I also would like to extend my sincere thanks to all the participants, listeners, and organizing team. Once again, thank you all. I remain.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Shall I leave now?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
sure.
madam. Thank
Okay.
you.
Right. Thank you. Bye.
Now we come to the end of the session. Thank you all dignitaries for joining. Next session will start at 11 a.m.
Hello? Hello?
Hi, Jason.
Hi, sir.
I'm set. I can do my screen sharing now.
Sir.
Is it visible now?
It's visible, sir.
Okay. I'm ready to go whenever you are.
Okay, sir.
We start at 11, sir.
Yeah?
We'll start at 11 o'clock.
Sure. I'll wait.
Okay, sir.
ഒരു മിനിറ്റ്.
Welcome you all back to the next session. Let me invite Dr. Therese Yamuna Mahesh, coordinator of this program, for introducing the resource person.
Good morning and very warm welcome to all of you. Let me introduce Sri Jaydev Menon to all of you. Sri Jaydev Menon is the Chief Executive of AKSH People Transformation. He is a consultant, mentor and trainer with over 36 years of professional experience. His consultancy is in the 13th year of operation. Earlier, Mr. Menon worked for 24 years with leading Indian companies in the office equipment and telecom sectors. As the Chief Executive of AKSH People Transformation, he has trained managers, business owners, teachers, and students. Leadership development, creative thinking, design thinking, and sales are his focus areas. He has delivered talks, conducted lectures, and training programs at many leading professional colleges in Kerala too. Sir is an active blogger and public speaker. He has written close to 300 articles at a blog titled Sales Coach Blog. Articles written by him appear regularly in Dhanam Business Magazine and FWD Business Magazine. He has delivered talks at National Institute of Personal Management, National HRD Network, Indian Society for Technical and Development, and National Conference of Realtors. He was a member of the Faculty Development Committee and Management Competition Committee of Kerala Management Association. Sir doesn't miss any opportunity to guide and mentor the future leaders of Kerala. We thank you very much, sir, for coming over to take the session at a very short notice, and we welcome you to this session.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Dr. Therese Yamuna. So it's my pleasure to be a part of this, high quality program that has been planned for AICTE teachers. And you told me that there are teachers from all across India in this program. I thank the principal of the college and the manager and management committee and you for giving me this opportunity to make a small presentation. Can the teachers hear me? You can just respond by putting a yes in the chat box. If I'm not clear at any point, you can let me know and I shall speak louder. And I know that there are teachers from all across India, so I shall limit myself to speaking in English because many of you may not probably understand my mother tongue, which is Malayalam. So can I hear some response? Is the chat permitted? Jason, earlier chat was not being permitted. So can you enable chat? Yeah, chat. It's enabled now, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So can I get some more response from all of you, teachers? Right now you're in student mode. You're not in teacher mode for the next 1 hour. So let's get an answer from some of you. No one? Okay, let's go ahead and I'll look forward to hearing from some of you as we go along. So we're going to talk in the next 1 hour about how to make your online classes more interesting, online teaching First of all, what are the challenges and what are some of the strategies we can adopt in order to make the classes more interesting? I'll begin with giving some introduction to myself and the work that I do. I have worked with major clients across India and in Oman and Maldives. So many of the global giants are my customers. So like Dr. Yamuna already said, I do leadership development, management development, design thinking, creativity workshops, sales and customer service training programs. And of course, I've conducted classes at many engineering and MBA colleges, managed business schools, mainly in Kerala. So you have the Rajgiri and SCMS, St. Kitts, DC School, and these are some of the colleges where I've conducted sessions for the students and for teachers. I've done creativity workshops, design thinking workshops, career skills, and so on. So these are some of the programs that I've done. Now let's come to the subject that we are going to deal with today. So from March onwards, the globe, everyone across the globe and everything that we do across the globe took a major turn for, I don't know whether you can call it for the better or worse. Let me grab something to show all of you. Something that 99.99% of us never used to wear when we go out. We have to do this when we go out of the house, wear a mask, right? It's something that we are forced to do, and that causes its own set of issues and constraints. But we are learning, we are coming to cope with it and learn to live with it. And of course, everything that we do now, education or business or social interactions, I can't remember ever in my life chatting with my family members on Zoom. But recently, we started doing that once a month just to keep in touch. Because a city, I live in Cochin, Trivandrum is just 200 kilometers away. Trichure is just 70 kilometers away. I've never seen Trichure in the last 7-8 months. I went to Trivandrum just once. I've not gotten to a train in the last 7-8 months. So a lot of changes. Education also had to undergo a huge change as a result of COVID. All of you started doing, probably 99.99% of you started doing something that you've never done before. We started using online platforms like Zoom or Microsoft Teams or Google Meet or one of the other platforms in order to deliver classes to your students. And that brought its own set of challenges for all of you, because we are all kind of used to doing business in person, talking to people in person. Of course, we did some WhatsApp chatting and all that, or video chatting, but that was only with friends, casual. Professionally, we never used, I don't know how many of you have used Zoom or any other video platform before COVID. I know some people who have done so, but I never did. I did attend 1 or 2 Zoom platform meetings earlier, but just once in a year or something. Now we are doing it every day. I'm a part of a business networking group. I have regular meetings every day of the week on Zoom. I conduct classes for a college in Cochin. Again, it's on Zoom. So what are the challenges, first of all? Before I come out with my own set of challenges, I would like to tell all of you that this session is going to be interactive. I'd like all of you to, because all of you are teachers, many of you with decades of experience. So I would like to hear from all of you what you are doing to make your classes interesting before I share my idea. So I'd like to have an interactive session. It has to be collaborative. So some of you will have a good idea, which some others may not be using. So you can share your ideas and the other person can share what they are doing. And by a collaborative method, you can make your classes better than before by getting inputs from each other. Third thing I would like to say is I'd like to share some stories, and I would like to suggest to all of you also to do storytelling, because that's the best way we can teach. If I ask all of you, what are the things that you remember from your childhood? It will be usually not the classes that you went for, but it will be what your grandmother or your mother or your father told you some interesting story, or your teacher told you some interesting story in the classroom. You will remember the stories, but you probably will not remember the lessons you had probably learned in school. And finally, I'd like to have some experience sharing from all of you about how you did to overcome hurdles to conduct online classes. Jason, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
yes, sir.
Because I could suddenly not see the Zoom windows.
We can hear you, sir.
Huh?
We can hear you.
You can hear me, perfect.
Yes, sir.
So going forward, so So what are some of the challenges you are facing as teachers currently in the last 7 months or 8 months since COVID? What are some of the challenges you are facing? Can you, one or two of you, unmute yourself and tell me, what are some of the challenges you're facing before I tell you what could be some of the challenges? Yamina, since you are a teacher too, if you are there, why don't you start with the challenge you faced? So, and that would be the starting point for others also. Anyone? Some interesting challenge you faced in your online classroom? If you don't have a story to tell me, you can type in your chat box also. Has any instruction gone out to the teachers that you shouldn't speak? I would love to have some response from some of you. I'm waiting for your response because it's not fun if I just keep speaking with all of you. I'd like to hear from some of you. Nothing? Then I might as well continue because I can't hear anyone.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, one of the challenges that we faced was we were not able to assess the students correctly.
Understand?
Assess the students. If
Assess
you
the
give an
students.
exam,
Okay.
probably the people who don't study well, they get more marks
Okay.
because they are open to view the text and write the answer.
Okay. Okay.
So that is one problem. Assessment will not be correct
Okay.
when we conduct online exams. And
All right.
another thing is we cannot really find out whether they are listening or not. They
Oh,
can just switch on,
I have faced-
log in, and then go somewhere. We will not be able to find out whether they are there.
I agree. I agree. I think some of it is happening even right now. And so many of the classes that I've conducted also, the same thing happens. Students log in. When I've conducted classes for 110 students, out of which about 15 students will respond. The remaining 90 people will not respond at all. So it is a challenge. I agree with you. Assessment, I do have an idea. Should I give an answer right now or should I hold it? Since you asked the question, let me answer right away. You can have a concurrent assessment model where you can give a practical problem in the class. So instead of just using an examination as an assessment, you can, meaning the term-end examination or year-end examination, you can have concurrent examinations where while the session is going on, you can call out students and give them a practical problem which should be included in your session, and how they deal with that problem, something that for which an answer cannot be found in a textbook. If you can make it application oriented, so even if they refer into the textbook, they will be only able to refer to a formula or a theorem or a logic, but they have to apply the logic or apply the formula and then come with find a solution to the problem. I have some detailed solutions for that as we go along, but it's a very, very valid question what Dr. Yamuna has asked. And I know some of you are, not some of you, many of you are faced with this challenge, how to assess the student. So I'll show you when I come to that slide on my thoughts on how to assess students. Thank you for that question, Dr. Yamuna. Going forward, some of the challenges are, we ourselves lacking motivation to conduct the session. What is happening is today I have 85 people listening to me. I don't see, I mean, excluding me, 83 people, but not one of them can be seen by me. I can see a lot of dark screens here. Everyone is in the background. I don't know whether they are there or not, but in spite of that, I need to deliver my program with maximum energy and with maximum motivation, because that energy is what is one of the key requirements in making your session successful. Even if you are in a classroom session, if you deliver the session in a very boring manner, or you appear very bored, you want to go, you're acting like you want to go somewhere else, and you are just doing this because someone forced you to do it, then the student is not going to learn from you. Like we say, we need engaged students, we need engaged teachers who truly believe in imparting knowledge and truly believe in the success of their students. So motivation is very, very important. And then we have to do some time-consuming tasks. Today in the classroom, we could just prepare the session, lecture notes, get them printed, and then just give it out in the class. But today we have to find a way of delivering that to each student online. You have to send an email, or you have to present your notes in a different way, in a more interesting way. Like, for example, I've got this PowerPoint presentation which I'm presenting to you. If you were standing in front of your students and delivering a lecture, you can just start talking and you can write on the board. You don't have to prepare a PowerPoint presentation. So there are some time-consuming activities which you have to do today, which you are not doing earlier, which makes it a little bit of a challenge for you. Third thing could be the learning activities that you have to prepare. A learning side, you can take students to a laboratory in your college and make them do some experiment or do a test. Whereas right now you can't bring the students to the college, the lab cannot be used. So how do you create learning activities which makes it interesting for the students and engaging for the students? And engineering and technology is an application science. So how do you bring that application element into your teaching is one more challenge that all of you are faced with. I can show you how a teacher does that in a very interesting way a little later. Another one is technical difficulties, Zoom related problems, connectivity issues, your computer not working, the audio in your computer or the video in your computer not working at both ends. So you have a lot of technological glitches that you have to face. Another one is the isolation. Students are all stuck in their own homes. Teacher is stuck in her or his own home, or probably some of you are going to the campus and conducting classes from there. So there is isolation, and that isolation crosses its own set of psychological issues. So that is one more challenge that is faced. The students are not able to meet their friends and have a good time with them, catch up over a coffee or chat with them. All the fun they used to have in the classroom, that is missing. So that is another challenge that teachers need to face. Now, how do you engage your students in a virtual engagement medium? Like I told you earlier, when you're not able to see them, how do you make sure, like even when I call some of my students and ask them to talk, they don't talk. Even today, I noticed that some of you, when I call you to speak with me, you're not speaking. So that engaging the teacher in a virtual conversation, engaging the student in a virtual conversation, that is very, very important. Make your material so interesting that the student is interested to unmute and start chatting with you. That is very, very important. They have distractions. They're probably logged into your training session on the laptop, but they are having their smartphone with them, or somebody is sitting in the room with them and chatting with them. We don't know all that because the video is closed. So they have all sorts of distractions which you have to overcome. And then effective communication with online learners. How do you communicate the key messages in your lesson to the learner in a structured manner, in an interesting manner, in an effective manner, so that your learner is actually getting the lessons from the lessons you're imparting and is able to then reproduce it later when you ask them questions, and also when you give them the examination or an assessment, they're able to reproduce that. So that is a challenge that you teachers, effective communication, how the message gets delivered in an effective manner. And then what Dr. Yamuna already asked, how do we do assessments in a structured manner that we ensure that they have not copied from somewhere, or they have just borrowed the idea from somebody else and written it in the examination? How do we ensure that it is their own thinking? And how do we ensure that we extract answers from them, which is creative, which is innovative, which is different? All these are challenges that you face. Okay. And the final thing, the most important thing actually, all of us do not learn in the similar manner. Some of us are tactile learners. We like to touch and feel things. Some of us like to read, or we like to understand by seeing things, by getting words or hearing words. The third, some of us are learned through sounds, through our ear. We like to hear teachers say something rather than reading from a textbook. A fourth one will be they're social learners. They like to learn when they're engaged with people and they're doing things as a group. Some people are visual learners. They learn by seeing. Some people are logical learners. They need a reason for understanding what is being taught to them, and a logical reason for the lessons they are learning and the subjects they are learning. So how do we know this? How do we know who is a tactile learner, who is a auditory learner, who is a kinesthetic learner? We can do that only through over a period of time when you're seeing them. But in a classroom, on Zoom classroom, the only way you can do it is mix up your teaching strategy. Mix elements of everything. Show them an activity in a laboratory. You can go to the college laboratory and do an activity and show them that activity. I'm going to show you how a teacher does that in a classroom. You can do something like that. Or make them do an experiment at home, or tell them to go out and find out something, investigate something, or give them a video from which they can hear. So there are different ways you can convey your lessons to students so that they pick up through various senses, by touching, by feeling, by hearing, by listening, and by talking, by interacting with so give them group activities so that they can interact with other students in the group and come up with some project work. So all these different learning styles that your students are experiencing or going through, you need to make them do everything. And by the way the students respond to each activity, you will be able to understand what type of learning style they prefer. So some people will say, I like that video very much. A second person said, I like that outdoor activity you gave me. Or a third person will say, that interaction I had with my classmates in that particular project that you gave for us as a team, that was very interesting to me. So by getting the feedback from them over a period of time, you will be able to find out what type of learning style they like a lot. And it is important for you to mix it up. You mix up your teaching style. Don't do the same lecture over and over again. Don't just have a PPT. Have mixed lessons with mixed experiences for the students, so that they'll have a more holistic learning experience. Now, some strategies on how to make your class a fun experience for your students. Before I go ahead, Dr. Yamuna already gave me a challenge. Can some of you, some others, give me some challenges that you faced? Some interesting challenge that you faced in your class when you're conducting a session. It's very important that you share it now, because I'm already tired of speaking on my own for the last 20 minutes. I'd like to hear some of you. Anything, even if it's a small thing, it's okay. Some small challenge or some major challenge you faced. Please unmute yourself, or please use the chat box. Or if you are not able to unmute yourself, please tell me and I'll get you unmuted. Are you there? Where all are you coming from in India? I would like to know which part of India you're all from. I can see various names here. I can see Binu Thomas, Vanita, Devendra, right? Devendra, Deepa Joseph, Dr. Srinivasalu, Dr. Muniraj.
Sir, we have a question in the chat box.
Okay, let me take a look. When asking student left, okay, you mean that the students are leaving when they ask them questions. What I'd like you to do is, sometimes what happens is when they feel challenged, students do leave. The idea is to make the questions as disarming and simple. So go from simple to complicated. If you know there are some students in your class who are very willing to answer questions, then you can ask the students who are willing to answer, and whenever any student answers a question, appreciate that person. Tell them it was a great idea. Never put down any idea. Never say any idea is not a good one. Even if the idea was a bad one, you can say, yeah, that's an interesting way of looking at it. But why don't you think about it in this manner? So instead of telling them they are wrong, give them the option of correcting themselves or giving a different perspective by encouraging them to talk. I do agree that students leave. So now I'm starting to get some responses. Shammi James said, distraction is the biggest challenge. So my response to all of you is, you become the biggest distraction. Make yourself an interesting person, bring in some jokes into the class, make it a fun experience for the students. If you can make engineering fun, any subject you're teaching can be made fun. Incorporate some humor into the sessions. Don't just keep lecturing non-stop on a subject. Bring in students, maybe before the class itself, if you know some of the better students, give them some small topics and tell them to get engaged in the class by giving their response, or tell them to give some input from their side on that topic. Tell them to prepare in advance. So today's class, you can tell 5 students, in my next class, I would like the 5 of you to make a presentation on these small topics, which will be a part of the curriculum for the next class. And you guide them. In the offline mode, you tell the students to contact you after the class, guide them on how to do the presentation. So get more students to get engaged in the teaching activity by doing little bits, so that then they will also be involved in the class. And they will, once you pick students and do this 3 or 4 weeks in a row, each week you give an activity for 3 or 4 people. Over a period of time, you will get more and more students engaged. It cannot happen overnight. You cannot make students engaged overnight. So build a relationship with them. Whenever you talk to students, like I mentioned Dr. Yamuna's name, and I mentioned mentioned Shammi James's name. Whenever you are answering a question from somebody, mention that person's name. So like Dr. Srinivasulu said here, those students are virtually in the class. Their attention also is very virtual in engagement. I agree with you, Dr. Srinivasulu. Yes, a lot of students switch on and go away, or they'll be doing something else. Neetu has said, how can we manage time for preparations? We need more time for presentation in online model. Give your suggestion. Yes. So I don't know, maybe smaller bites. Make sure that don't cram too many topics into a particular lecture. Schedule it out. Maybe get the student into a learning activity where, like I said, you can give a part of the textbook for them to prepare, and you're only giving them the highlights. Tell them to come prepared to the class with the questions. So you are giving them the highlight of the lesson, the key parts of the lesson, and then students are also actively involved in the learning, because engineering is an application science. So there's a lot of practical part involved. There's a lot of learning involved from the outside. So tell them to get an example from outside of what they know about that particular topic, and then make it a discussion in the classroom. I would like to say, I believe Indian education system, I don't know whether it's changed today. When I studied in college, which was a long time ago, the teacher came with detailed lecture notes, and they were lecturing from beginning to end of the class. Today, there are a lot of virtual resources available. For school children, you have Byju's and Salman Khan's Khan Academy, and there are so many online Academy. And even for college students, I'm sure there are a lot of online resources. There are a lot of things that they learn in college is explained. So I think the teacher should not take it upon themselves to overburden themselves with teaching everything that is written in the textbook. You should take the essence of the lesson, and the key parts of the lesson probably should be conveyed to them by you through the lessons, and get the student engaged and get into a dialogue with them. Tell them to ask questions from the portions that they studied, and then give your inputs which will value add to what they've already read and studied. So analog electronics, I agree that there are a lot of things K. Nishada is saying. Analog electronics may be probably not easy to cover. There is no other way but to cover. So Nishada, my question to you is, are there examples? Are there practical ways of teaching? Because you know the subject, I don't know the subject. I have studied analog electronics many years back. I'm a physics graduate, so I know a little bit of electronics. but that was studied 35 years ago. I don't know anything about the latest in analog electronics. So I'm not here to teach you on how to teach the subject. I'm only here to tell you how to make the subject more interesting to your students. And one of the ways, or one of the two of ways to get them engaged is, can you bring in practical aspects? Can you get them to do something in their house, which will can be supplemented with what you can do by way of something that you can display in your remote from your classroom. Instead of showing them a slide, can you show them an experiment? Can you show an analog electronics experiment in a laboratory, or something that you have already in the lab? Can you show it working and explain it to them? What is each component doing? What if there is a valve in that? How is the valve working, or how is that valve contributing to the entire circuitry? And in which area is analog better than digital? So, bringing the practical elements, like for example, I have a niece who was studying in an engineering college in Kerala, I don't want to say where, and she was talking about cathode ray tube, and she was talking about the internal combustion engine. So I asked her, maybe I surprised her, and maybe that's why she couldn't answer. I asked her, where is a cathode ray tube used? And she couldn't tell me. And I even told her there is something in the house that uses the cathode ray tube. She couldn't connect it to the TV in her house. This was happening a few years back. LED and LCD TVs had not come at that time. But although she had a TV at home, she couldn't connect the cathode ray tube to the TV in her house. And she couldn't connect the internal combustion engine with the car that her father is driving. So I think that practical element of engineering education should be focused on how to connect what they're learning in the classroom with the world outside. So when you're talking about structural engineering, talk about the bridge that is being made. I'm going to give you an example a little later. So a bridge that is being made, or some building that is being made, and connect that with whatever is being taught in the classroom. So bring in practicality, bring in the real world experience. Tell them to bring their own experience to the classroom, and a teacher should reduce the burden on themselves to teach everything. Don't lecture everything. Make it a two-way process. Let the students stumble and fall. Let them say the wrong things. Let them but find out for themselves some elements of what they're studying, and then the teacher helps them to correct it and value add to it, instead of telling everything to them. So I think one recommendation is to reduce the spoon feeding that you do. I think Indian education, Indian parents and Indian teachers do a lot of spoon feeding to their students. So we should reduce the spoon feeding and make students learn. I think one of the things that children see when they go overseas is, the same niece that I spoke about, she went to a foreign country to do some higher studies, and there the number of hours of lecture in the master's program was very limited. The rest of the time she was expected to go to the library and do other projects and learn things on her own. So that is an element we need to bring into our classrooms to make classrooms more fun. I hope I've answered some of your questions. Let me give you some more ideas before I give answers. Tell me, what are some of the things you are doing today to make your classroom fun for your students? If I can ask, I already got answers from Nishada and Neeta and Dr. Srinivasulu and Shivatanu, Shami James, some of you. Thank you, Dr. Sachidanandam. So many of you responded. Thank you very much. I would like to hear some of you give some inputs on how you make your class more interesting today. Right now, what techniques are you using to make your classes more interesting? Because I have some prescriptions, some ideas which you can use. But before that, I would like to hear your ideas. Very good. Yeah. Shivakumar is saying conducting quizzes in between. Absolutely. That's right. Yeah. After each topic, have a small quiz. Anybody else? And quizzes are also an opportunity to teacher to understand whether the students understood the subject well or not, so that you can elaborate on that in a little bit more detail when you continue your subject. So that in a quiz, so it's a two-way thing. When you conduct a quiz, you can understand whether the student, you can get a feedback from the student whether they understood the subject or not. and you can give more inputs to them. Any other, please? I would like to get some more of your ideas of what you are doing in the classroom to make it interesting for the students. It will help not just me, it will help the other teachers also. So please collaborate on these interesting ideas that you have so that you can help each other. Application related teaching. Yes, Dr. Vetrivel is saying that. Absolutely. I fully agree. Engineering is an application science. You have to show application of where the particular technology is being used and how it is being used. I fully agree with you. One more answer. Thank you, Dr. Shivakumar and Dr. Shivakumar and Vetrivel, Dr. Vetrivel. Using analogies, Dr. Sachinandan said. Absolutely. That's right. So in this particular situation, this is what happened. So take a real life example of a real building or a real factory, that is there in their own cities. If you're teaching in Trichy, talk about a factory in Trichy, which the students probably have seen. If you're in Bangalore, use an example of a Bangalore-based industry. So use analogies from the local environment. And yes, Dr. R. Lakshmi said interaction-based discussions. Yes, use one of the enablers that is available in Zoom. I use Zoom extensively. Probably Microsoft Teams also has it. I don't know whether Google Meet has it. I think WebEx also probably has it. So depending on whatever medium you're using, you can have breakout rooms. I am mentioning breakout rooms in some of the solutions offered. So thank you to all four of you for giving the inputs. Using analogies, using applications, quizzes, and interactive discussions. Yes, so I'm going to the next slide. First of all, let us be very creative and innovative in how we conduct the same old lectures that we've been doing in the real-time classroom. When you bring it to the Zoom classroom, you need to bring in your creativity. You need to be very innovative about how you conducted the sessions. So bring your creativity and innovation to the table. Don't just deliver the lecture with just the subject matter. Deliver the subject matter in a very interesting way, in a very engaging way, so that the student will never forget the teacher or the subject. If they become a teacher in the future, they will remember you and mention you in the classroom, or they will use some of the stories that you told them. Use the right tool, So sometimes you need to use a quiz. Sometimes you need to show an experiment. Sometimes you need to send them out into the field and do some field study. Sometimes you may have to use a simulation. So depending on what subject is being taught, use the right tool to convey your messages. So don't just deliver, have a same methodology for each lecture. That is, you all said students are getting distracted, students are not staying engaged, students are going away. Probably you need to ask yourself, is all my lectures sounding the same? Are all my classes the same? Can you bring in an element? So like a movie trailer, before the movie comes, they're showing a trailer. Can you tell the students in advance, in next class, we're going to do something different, which we didn't do in any of the previous classes. It's a very interesting new concept I'm trying out. So they will be interested to come and get engaged in the next class. And the class after that, you're bringing one more innovation, which you did not do in any other previous classes. So in each class, you're bringing some new tool which you picked up from somewhere, and you're applying it in your classroom. So for the students, they're constantly discovering new way of learning from you, new way of getting engaged with you. So they will not get bored at the end of any class. Tell the students, I cannot keep innovating, I cannot giving new things. So part of my class will be lecturing, but in each class, I will bring in a new element which will make the class interesting for you. A third one is use a conversational language. Don't be a teacher. Be a friend teacher. Use a language which is more relatable to them. Run a conversation with your students. You are not delivering the subject to them in a very dry manner. You're delivering the subject to them in a very interesting, interactive, and in a way that the student is excited to talk with you. Let them interrupt you when you have a joke, and ask them to crack a joke in the classroom. Ask them to say something fun, or ask them how can this product be used in a totally crazy way. If you're showing some electronic product, or if you're showing some mechanical engineering product in experiment in the classroom, ask the student, how can this be used in a fun way to create something interesting, to create something that is exciting. So tell them to think in a wacky, creative, different way. If you're teaching robotics, can you tell them to create a robot that tells jokes, which are situation-based jokes? So artificial intelligence and machine learning and all these can be used to create a robot that will crack jokes, which is appropriate to the situation. So, you bring a fun element and a conversational element into your teaching methodology. And like some of you already said, have ongoing assessments. Some of them can be marked, some of them need not be marked, but have an ongoing assessment going, Q&A. You ask, tell the students to ask questions that you answer, and then you ask questions that they will answer. So there's an ongoing to and fro between you and the student, and you're assessing them. So tell them, bring in a surprise element, saying that 10% of your marks, term end marks, or 15% or 20% of the term end marks comes from the online assignments, and you will not know which of these questions are going to be assessed for your term end examination. So you need to pay attention to all the questions that I ask you. So bring in an element of surprise and put a certain percentage of the mark for online assessment, which will finally, on which their final result will depend. So that will get more engagement, and you're making your classroom interesting and engaging that way. Another thing is active engagement between the students too. You can use the breakout rooms. I'm going to talk about the breakout room separately, but active engagement between the teacher and the students. So you give them a project work, and then you help them to complete it by giving them tips. Tell them to start working on the project on their own. Then you chip in with value additions, so that they're actively involved in the entire learning process. The students and the teachers are actively involved in the learning process. And then students also present, like I told you already earlier. Give them some topic where they will come and prepare in the class, prepare in advance and present it to the entire classroom. And you help them with the presentations and how to prepare the presentations. So your workload is reduced, and then you are applauding them and appreciating their work and value adding to what they what they delivered in the classroom. And so your workload is reduced, and student engagement is also increased. So I already mentioned breakout rooms. Breakout rooms I know is available in WebEx and in Zoom. I don't know if it's available in the other platforms because I have not used them much. So in the breakout rooms, you can take small groups of students and put them in smaller rooms where they are engaged in separate activities. And then they can have a discussion among them or do a project between themselves, and then come back into the main room and make a presentation. And you can ask the other students what they thought about the presentation. So when one group makes a presentation, after that, the other groups are supposed to, you will ask questions to the other groups about that, or take their feedback. So that way you have a lot of activity in the classroom. And then finally, stories, your own stories. When you're teaching the subject, bring interesting stories into the classroom about whether it is VLSI. You can talk about if Intel, when they created a particular chip, they were trying to achieve something, and they hit a roadblock, and then somebody had a brainwave. Like for example, if you know the famous company 3M, how did they make the Velcro? You know the story, right? One engineer of 3M was walking in the hills, and some seeds of the grass got stuck on his pants, on his trousers when he was walking. So he came back and he tried to check how did that thing get stuck on his trouser. So he then studied the structure of the seed of the grass and discovered how to make the Velcro strip. So give a practical example, a story, a real life example. When a famous bridge was being made on Konkan Railway, how was the structure? I was told, I'm not very sure, I was told that there is a pillar of one of the bridges on Konkan Railway, which is actually taller than Qutub Minar. I have not verified this information. Probably it is true. So how did they design that? So you can give them, so you can ask a question about that. or take some particular building in their city and ask them some questions about that building, or give them a story about how that building was made. So bring stories to the classroom, make engineering a fun experience for them. This is something. So here is an experience how this happened either in Sweden or in Norway. There is an escalator there, which is coming out of the metro railway station, and there is a staircase. And we all know that climbing staircase is a healthy practice, but nobody was using the staircase. Everybody was using the escalator. So one company thought of an interesting idea. Probably some of you have seen this video, but still you can watch this. It's only a 1 or 1.5 minute video of how they made people use the stairs. Next morning, they saw one lady who was coming downstairs, and another person started using. So that's what they did. They converted that entire staircase like a piano keyboard, and people started using that keyboard in order to experiment with music. So something that people were not doing, they started doing when it became a fun experience. So there was gamification. There was some interesting element like a music. It was fun for people to climb the staircase. So that is how you can make your classroom interesting. So have a game plan, your entire course syllabus. You have a syllabus plan. You can decide in advance what experiment or what activity I'll bring for delivering each of these. You can collaborate. The teachers in the department can collaborate and bring some interesting ideas. Have a game plan on how to deliver that entire series of lectures. If there is 20 credit hours or 30 credit hours for that course, how to make it an exciting experience, value-adding experience, and a fun experience for the student. Record the classrooms, the entire series of lectures that you do, record them in advance, and so that later on you can play it back and find out what the students liked and what they didn't like a lot, so record it. The third one is gamify, bring fun element like the staircase that you just saw, gamify your entire classroom. Fourth one is the quality of the teaching. You as a teacher exciting the students, delivering the lecture with your knowledge, with your capabilities, and bringing as much fun and as much interaction into the classroom. And finally, the quality with which you deliver the session. At the end of the session, the student is going away with a great learning experience and saying, wow, fantastic. I love this. I love this teacher. My teacher really knows how to deliver this lesson in a very exciting and interesting way. That is a message they're going away with. That is how you should be able to plan each lecture to make it a fun experience for your students. Here is one teacher. His name is Walter Levin. I'm going to show you, this is a bigger video. I cut it down to 1 or 2 minutes. He's teaching the principle of conservation of energy. And he's putting his own life at stake by teaching, while he's teaching conservation of energy. See, he's using a wrecking ball. He's using a wrecking ball, and he shows that the wrecking ball is a very heavy piece of metal. He breaks a thick piece of glass, and now he says what? Now he's going to tell you what he's going to do. I think all of you have studied physics in school and college. You know that there's potential energy and kinetic energy, and at any point of time, the total of conservation, potential and kinetic energy is equal. So he's going to prove that with an experiment in the classroom. The students are watching him in the classroom.
And I'm going to hold this object at my chin, and I cannot move any further back, so there's no cheat here. I'm going to release it right from my chin here. You realize, as you have just seen, that the slightest push, and this will be my last lecture, and no book signing afterwards. And I have to tell you something. I couldn't sleep all night. I'm going to close my eyes. I don't want to see it. And I'm going to count down from 3 to 0.
But if my hands shake a little, and if I give it a little push, then of course it can come back, and it may want to go higher than this.
3, 2, 1, 0.
So he put his own life at stake, and he put a wrecking ball, a very heavy metal ball. He released it from near his face, and he said, if the principle of conservation of momentum of energy is true, then the ball will not come and hit my face. So obviously, the principle of conservation of energy is true, and the ball did not hit his face. But when you teach the subject in this manner, the student will never forget the subject again in his or her life. It's a very public demonstration, a very dramatic demonstration of the subject. So that is how you can make the class interesting for your students. This is an example of a very famous or infamous flyover in Cochin. We call it the Palarivattam flyover, which was constructed spending hundreds of crores. Within a few months of making it, it got spoiled. It was structurally damaged, and the bridge has again been closed. Again, a few hundred more crores have to be spent in reconstructing the bridge. It is in the heart of Cochin. There is a second bridge, the next junction from this bridge. That bridge also been constructed. There's a metro railway line going above that bridge, and there's a road below that. Now, the height of the bridge has been restricted because the designer who planned the bridge did not take the metro bridge into consideration, the metro duct into consideration when he was designing this bridge. So only transports of a particular height can go over the bridge. So these are two stupid mistakes made while designing these bridges, and that is resulting in crores worth of revenue loss. So can we ask students when they're in the class, how can such a thing be stopped? Can they have practical solutions to solve problems like this? Or take this example, if you take a VLSI chip, in the design, what can be done in order to extract more work from that chip, or in order to reduce the heat being built up in that chip, or the kind of logic that can be used in the construction? Can they give an example from real life where some company solved some problem? A third example, this was a demolition of a building which took place in Cochin. I'm sure buildings are getting demolished all over. And you can see the smoke of that building, the building next door, which is not supposed to be damaged. The smoke from this building, the dust from this building is going into that building. Probably if this building is not demolished properly, a part of that structure will fall on the building next door. So we can ask them, when you're constructing the building itself, what precautions can we use in order to ensure that in case this building needs to be damaged in future, to be demolished in future, how can we ensure it can be done with maximum safety? So ask students to work on their ideas on how will they place the explosives so that the building will fall down horizontally and will not fall down to a side, or vertically. So fall vertically and not horizontally. Or take a building like Burj Khalifa. So what are the structural elements or design elements that have gone into that? Because it's such a tall structure, the tallest structure in the world today. How do they make sure that the crushing weight of the upper stories does not come on the lower stories? So what could be some of the design elements? Ask the teachers, the students to work on a project like this and think on how this building was constructed. Chemical factory. Maybe you are making a small chemical factory and then you want to increase the capacity of the factory 10 times. you cannot just linearly increase everything, because there are issues structurally, or the chemicals that are used in the factory cannot be stored in larger quantities due to various factors. So ask them, the students may design a larger factory in a linear fashion. So probably you have to tell them, we can't design it in a linear fashion, and you have to bring in other design elements into it when we scale up. So multiple design problems can be brought into the discussion, so that the student is putting their thinking cap on and collaboratively learning the subject with the teacher. The teacher is making the classroom exciting by giving real world experience to the students. When they go out as engineers, the kind of problems they will solve in real life, they are trying to solve that in the classroom itself. So this is one way you can make the subject very interesting for them. Another thing, we call it death by PowerPoint in business. A lot of people show PowerPoint presentations. I'm sure in the lectures also, you use a lot of PowerPoint presentations. Did any of you see any slide so far in my presentation which had many lines of text like this? Did you see any slide like this in my presentation so far? Yes or no? You can type yes or no in the chat box. No, thank you. Thank you, Shivakumar, Mr. Shivakumar. Thank you, Kiran Kumar. Thank you. Yes, I intentionally do that because I know this kind of text is very boring. So my suggestion, thank you, everyone. I can see a lot of people saying no. Thank you very much. Kind of you to say so. So because I make a lot of presentations regularly to people, and I know it is not a good idea to make presentations of this fashion. And therefore, I always make sure my slides are not packed with text. I always ensure that texts are, this is a simpler side. They say that you should keep your slides very simple. Just the summary, either one word or one concept or one line should be presented on one slide, or 2-3 lines at the most. And you are the person, the main presenter. You are the one who's conveying the subject to them. So don't put if you're explaining a theorem to them, maybe the theorem alone can be written on the slide, or probably even not even that. You can read it out or tell them to read the theorem from their textbook. But you are explaining the theorem to them with practical ideas and with interesting examples. Okay, this guy, I love this guy a lot. He's no longer with us. He died a few years back. He's the founder of Apple Computers, Steve Jobs. Look at how he makes a presentation. He's a master in making presentation. And look at how he makes a presentation.
Every once in a while, a revolutionary product comes along that changes everything. And Apple has been, well, first of all, one's very fortunate if you get to work on just one of these in your career. Apple's been very fortunate. It's been able to introduce a few of these into the world. In 1984, we introduced the Macintosh. It didn't just change Apple, it changed the whole computer industry. In 2001, we introduced the first iPod. And it didn't just change the way we all listen to music. It changed the entire music industry. Well, today, we're introducing 3 revolutionary products of this class. The first one is a widescreen iPod with touch controls. The second is a revolutionary mobile phone. And the third is a breakthrough internet communications device. So, 3 things: a widescreen iPod with touch controls, a revolutionary mobile phone, and a breakthrough internet communications device. An iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator. An iPod, a phone. Are you getting it? These are not 3 separate devices. This is one device. And we are calling it iPhone. Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone. And here it is.
He's a master presenter, and he uses sense of humor. He brings excitement into the presentation. He brings fun into the presentation. He brings suspense into the presentation. So that is what he uses.
Every once in a while.
I like to, Dr. Yamuna, I think we are almost at 12 o'clock. Can I take 5 more minutes to explain one more concept before I close? Will the teachers be ready to wait for 5 more minutes?
Sure, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So let's just go ahead. So this is how you can make your presentations very, very interesting. Make your PowerPoint presentations as simple, like one teacher, Dr. Mr. Prasanna said, KISS is a short form for keep it simple, stupid, or keep it short and simple. Yes, that's right. It's a fundamental principle for all presentations. So make your presentations, your presentation should be supporting you. You are not supporting the presentation. The presentation is secondary to you. You as the teacher are coming up with innovative ideas and exciting new ideas, and the presentation is only a secondary thing that you're using to add to your presentation. You are the main value adder. That is what all teachers need to remember. And finally, I'm going to go to a concept called design thinking. Design thinking is thinking and looking at all design, whether it's your subject matter design or product design or service design, thinking from the customer's point of view. And for all of you, your students are your customer. And your product is the lessons that you're teaching, the subject that you're teaching in the class. So use design thinking methodologies to deliver a high quality lecture or a high quality class session in the classroom, which students will remember for the rest of their life. Steps involved in design thinking is empathize. Empathizing means a deep understanding. All of you said that the students are distracted, the students are not engaged, the students are not listening, they're switching on the video and going away. So ask the students, why are they doing that? Why is my class not interesting to you? How can I make my class more interesting to you? Look at the class. You sit at today, you are a student. So what did I do as a teacher to make your class, to make the class engaging and interesting for you? You know, so think about that. Empathize with with your customer. Second is define the problem. So this subject has to be delivered, and it's application science. So how can I deliver this application science subject in an exciting manner? Define that. And then ideate, sit with the students, or some students, a group of students, or sit with our teachers and brainstorm and find out potential solutions of how to deliver the session in a very exciting manner and develop a solution. Then prototype it, run a demo pilot session, maybe call a few teachers in the college and run a pilot session of that. You know, find out whether this was more interesting than my other normal lectures. And then once you prototyped it, then make it, fine tune it, and create the final deliverable product, and then deliver it in the classroom. And then keep getting feedback from the students, and find out, if you don't ask them for feedback, find out if in my normal lecture classes, only 20% of the students are responding. When I started delivering my lecture in a different manner, are 25% or 30% or 40% of my students are responding now? Are more percentage of students responding now? Are more students engaged in my classes now? So this way you can keep changing the way you deliver your lectures, and that way make it more interesting for your students. and exciting for your students, so that you will have a classroom full of students who are interested to hear you talk to them. So that's, I'm going to show you one last video, another short video to close my lecture. This is a design thinking example.
Design thinking is an innovative methodology which can be utilised by large organisations to design experiences to delight their customers. Here's an example of how it works. An Australian supermarket chain wanted to design a unique in-store experience. We interviewed and observed shoppers over a considerable period. Customers wanted to feel more connected with the suppliers of their produce and an in-store experience they couldn't find elsewhere. One winning idea was an in-store milk dispenser with old-style glass milk bottles. Customers filled the bottles with single-origin, high-quality milk, with details of the cows and farms that produced it, and assurance they received a fair price. If we'd asked what customers wanted, they'd probably have said cheaper produce. But by empathising, living and observing, we developed a popular experience that not only delights customers, but gives the store a unique edge by connecting with shoppers' hearts and minds. In summary, people don't know what they want. Using design thinking helps understand their needs, gains and pains to design experiences that will absolutely delight customers and build lasting loyalty.
Okay, so this is so that is a design thinking idea. Many more design thinking ideas are available online. You can see them. So many teachers are not role models. They don't listen to good talks. Oh, so this is from someone. Okay, so teachers, that's a message for all of you. So teachers need to be role models, and I always ask all teachers and all students this: how many of you read? You know, other than your subject matter. So how many of you regularly read books? I regularly read different subjects to value add to my portfolio of knowledge, so that when I go to a classroom, I make the classroom sessions more interesting. And teachers need to constantly keep reading stuff other than their subject matter to value add to their repository of knowledge, to make the classes more exciting for their students. And you all need these three things: enthusiasm, empathy, and energy. Deliver your classes with the highest amount of energy. Be empathetic with the students' needs and show enthusiasm in the classroom, so that the students are excited by your presence there. So that is my message to all of you. I think one more last slide. Yeah, so you need to realize this, that we are appealing to the brain of another human being, and the brain has got emotional elements and analytical elements and instinctive elements. You have to appeal to all these three aspects of the human brain, and these are the reasons why humans live. They need certainty in their life, they need variety in their life, significance, love and connection, contribution. They want to make contribution, and they want to have growth in their life. In what way are you as a teacher contributing to these areas? If you can contribute to the growth of your students in this manner, then you will be applauded, appreciated, and remembered as great teachers. That's my message to you. So a leader is someone who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. Thank you. That was my lecture. Thank you very much. So if you have any feedback to give right now, I would like to hear that. Otherwise, you can give it in the feedback, the form given by the college. Appreciate your time. Thank you for listening to me.
Sir, it was
Yes.
a very interactive session. Thank you for brushing up the strategies for making the online classes interactive and engage the students most effectively. The videos that you demonstrated were very interesting, and such methods will definitely hold the attention of the students. I believe all the participants who would have by now felt the urge and necessity to present their classes in the most effective manner by bringing fun and excitement into their duty. Thank you once again for coming over a very short notice and handling the session in a very effective manner. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Yamuna, and thank you, Amal Jyoti College, for this opportunity.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye then.
Bye.